As the as the name of our organization and our mission statement indicates, we are fundamentally a teaching organization, and we can't perform our mission, which is to try and create a world free from hate and bigotry and anti-Semitism, without you, the teachers, who will take our message to the students and the younger generation. And so, on behalf of the organization, I just want to say thank you. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we're so happy that you're here.
All right, if y'all give me just 1 second, I'm going to attempt to learn how to use a computer. We're going to share screen here. You've already actually hopefully have all signed in. Everyone online, this is not for you. Once you've clicked, as long as you've clicked on the Zoom, you should be okay. We're going to try to make this work a couple different ways. Let's see. So we've tried to put together a week that is filled with other people talking other than me. Who here has been to the Institute before? Woohoo! Okay, you came back for a reason, and hopefully it was that you found something useful in what we're giving out. We try to do a different theme every year, try to have different speakers every year. This year, we are really pleased with our lineup, but I do want to make sure that we start off by giving you some of the ground rules of one that everyone knows. The restrooms are in the corner over here. Please feel free to get up and use the facilities or get any snacks anytime you want. We'll be placing snacks throughout the day. I would like to extend since this is being recorded, I would like to thank Miss Abby Sanchez, who is one of the school board members of Seminole County School Board, who is also now on our board of directors for the Holocaust Museum, for buying all of our lunches and breakfast for the entire week. So yeah, that's always really nice, because I'm one of those firm believers in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What better way to get people to show up other than giving them food? And you're like, and yes, I am the first person to walk into a place, go, continental breakfast, where's my eggs and bacon? I'm not bringing bacon. A big turkey bacon, and I don't need it anyways. So, but we're gonna have like I said, we'll have food provided for the entire week. We have a pretty packed schedule. I have some people who've looked. This is our first year. Last year we used Whova, which is a seminar app. Okay, we've switched off of Whova because I can actually use Talent LMS throughout the entire year. So we can actually, so we are considering, for those of you who are my wonderful folks who are online, who I love dearly, thinking about not doing something hybrid. For those of you that remember when COVID first hit and trying to get kids to learn and people learn online, it is very challenging. So now trying to do it and engage people online and engage the room is not an easy task. And to make everyone feel included. So we might split it up. At Talent LMS, the way I've set it up this year, I know I've bombarded you with a bunch of surveys. Please introduce yourself. Please say hello, unless you want me to call you out. Please, and the completion of the modules, some of the modules, the information is just that. It's just information. It is not a test. It is not something, and hopefully there's downloads that you can use, but it is not something that is, someone said, this looks like a lot, it's too much. It's just information. Everything, I might ask you some weird, step back, think deeper, critical thinking question, God forbid. But that's about the deepest we're going to get. And the beauty of it is there's not going to be a wrong answer. It's going to be just, I just want to hear your thoughts. Would like to see that we're all thinking, and hopefully that we're being challenged. Who here has taught Holocaust? Who here has taught, and I mean extensively, about the Holocaust for more than a year? John, why are you not raising your hand? Okay. Well, exactly. What's that? What's extensively mean? So it could be different. I mean, who here is just generally talking about the Holocaust for more than a couple of years? Just like generally. Okay. Who here knows everything about the Holocaust? You'd be surprised if you walk into a lot of social studies classes where everyone's got it all figured out. But it's usually that little section in the book you got memorized, or I read Anne Frank twice, or maybe I read Knight. And so I hope everyone comes with an open mind to learn a little bit more. And you may hear things, for those of you that hear things that you already know, great. You got a lot of people here, it might be their first time. Help them, talk to them in a friendly way, because one of the worst things to get is a note at the end of the day that someone who knows more than me is making me feel less than. Had that happen. It's not pretty. I don't love it. And you've all put people into groups, students into groups, and you wonder why they hate being put into groups. This is the reason why, and it's like I get, and I have teachers here who here teaches social studies, who here teaches ELA. What else do we have that I'm missing? Teach science, nice. That's fantastic. We're not having a section on eugenics today, but we and also online. Do me a favor, share your what you teach. I know you've already done this, but it's interesting to see what there are intensive reading classes, teachers who come in. We have teachers who come in from that are teaching different levels of social studies, different types of courses. So we hope that you'll have something that you'll find that's useful here today. One last thing, I did put in a last module that's going to ask for you to do it. Okay, it's the very first one that says our expectation, but I'm going to read them out loud just for fun. And I promise we'll get started with our speaker right after. Okay, unless you've had a talk with me, if you want the points, and we had our budget cut this year. Now, we didn't have schools shut down, and there's a lot of stuff happening. So we dropped our stipend. It is amazing to see how many people showed up. I'm so excited. Makes me, and I hope that if 250 is making or breaking for you, talk to me. I'll help you out. Whatever I can do. I didn't want to this is I don't want anyone. It's a lot to give up your time to come here, and I have some people who come from far away, and gas isn't cheap. We're not going to talk about. I drive it cheap. It's my problem. Okay. The only thing I ask for, and I think it's pretty easy, actively engage. Those of you who haven't done the discussion board to introduce yourself, that's a bare minimum. Please introduce yourself. So I do have people who will reach out to me a week after this event and will say, I didn't get my books yet. I'm like, well, I'm looking at the thing here, and I said, there's not a single check marker where you attended anything or engaged or submitted even a hello. Yeah, I'll do it now. Well, no, now it's too late because I'm on vacation. I'm very Gen X. I'm very 80s, but I'm also very compassionate and kind. And if you have something come up, I will be happy to work with you, as long as you do what? Yeah, I mean, it's communicate. Like it's rule number one. So those of you who are online, if you see some folks, your helpers online, Kayla. If you send a note to everyone introducing yourself, Kayla is our education manager. She'll be online helping and make sure everything technically is working in the chat. Also, for those of you who are online, Mr. Lee Holder, who's from North Carolina, will be helping you out to make sure that everyone's being historically accurate and not putting in a bunch of garbage that's not true about the Holocaust. And because that is we like to clear up misconceptions, especially when we're teaching difficult history like this. So here what we'll do is, please make sure you treat all the participants, presenters, and staff with professionalism, courtesy, and respect. Everyone weirdly thinks I feel like I'm like, oh, don't talk to me like I'm a child. I'm not. But every now and then I'll have someone who'll come up who'll start to talk, and someone else is still having a conversation. I will call you out. I will. So if someone else stands up here, just be nice, because some of these people are volunteering their time. They're not being paid, and neither are y'all. But you're too. You're here also in many ways volunteering. It's just a mutual thing, a mutual respect thing, and because we're going to give you plenty of time for conversations. I love that you're having conversations. Please engage in the room. Talk, especially when we're trying to engage. But listen with curiosity. Listen with an open mind. Be mindful that Holocaust education explores difficult and emotional topics. Please approach the topics with sensitivity and empathy. That is not a dirty word in my world. If it is in yours, I apologize, but suck it up. This is my very empathetic. I really am. For in-person participants, and be considerate to fellow attendees. Also, By the way, and if you have something to contribute, the presenters are up here. Contribute briefly and end it. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. Answer questions. You know what I mean? We're here to hear different information. I have very much ensured that for everyone's sake, that I'm not presenting at all this week. This is the most you're going to hear from me, thank God. Because we have some great presenters. Use your technology responsibly. Please make sure your computers are muted when you log into the Zoom. You can put questions into the chat. You can also put questions. Feel free to start discussion topics that are in the Talent LMS app. I'm always happy to have more questions put in. And if you have a question, you've got my email. You should have Kayla's email. You can also talk to Jasmine in the back. Wave Jasmine. Jasmine is our resource teacher. If you don't know that Orange County Public Schools has had, starting with Mr. Mitch Bloomer right here, was our very first resource teacher. Was Mitch, how long were you the resource teacher here? 25. 25 years. Let's say again. I said I was first. Oh, Riley. Okay, yeah, okay, yes. Well, we're gonna count. I'm gonna count Mitch as being the first. Mitch held this position for quite some time. The position was created in many ways for this museum. But in its place, we actually split the salary. We contribute, and then so we always have a teacher from Orange County Public Schools. We have a board member now who's from Seminole County Public Schools, and so we try to actually work with the school systems. Public school teachers, raise your hands. Private school teachers, raise your hands. Where's my showing from the diocese? Actually, it's been a busy year this year. So I'm actually very happy that there's this many public school teachers here. Very excited. And I'm very easily excited. And I've had 4 cups of coffee, and I was in Poland last week for all of like 7 days. So I'm still operating on Poland time. Please.
A few of you guys in this room have actually supported in your classrooms, whatever, bringing Holocaust speakers. So if you are interested in bringing Holocaust and teaching to your classroom, you're not sure how to approach that, I'm here now. Let me know. I'll give my card, whatever it is. I can bring a speaker to your classroom. I can do a presentation if you're unclear on what to do. I'm here to help you in whatever way that is.
Thank you, Jessica. So today, here's our agenda. We're going to have a welcome reflection. We're going to have our speaker. I'm going to introduce in just a second here. We're going to have 2 speakers today. We're going to split up. We're going to have our speaker from Echoes and Reflections, who's going to be the first part of the morning. The second half of the afternoon is Dr. Benjamin Hett. You will be getting a copy of his book. You complete the week. And then we'll kind of wrap up with some reflections and just connections. Don't forget to complete just the assignments are literally checking boxes and then going through it. It's very easy. It's really simple. Lunch today at Jimmy John's and Chips. Please prompt for breaks when we are done from a break. Do me a favor, like if I'm like, all right, everybody come back together, try to wrap up your conversation very quickly so we can get started. That way we can finish on time. So I will not be keeping you past 3 o'clock because we will all want to have a little bit of the day to finish out. With that, I would like to introduce today's speaker. And actually, Logan, I'm making sure. Logan Greene currently serves as the 7th grade assistant principal for Simmons Middle School in Hoover, Alabama. He has 19 years of experience in public education and has taught at all levels of secondary social studies and multiple levels of secondary ELA. Logan has completed and conducted numerous trainings and seminars on the Holocaust and worked with Echoes and Reflections as inaugural teacher fellow for the cohort, the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum from 2019 to 2020 as a teacher fellow, and the Jewish Foundation for the Righteous, and others. He holds a BA and Master's of Education from the University of Montevideo. Is that right? And let's see, what's from you, Alabama? Air educational? Yeah, okay. See, I'm losing all my, there are too many acronyms here, Logan. I'm going administrative certification from the University of Alabama as well. He's currently set to complete his doctorate in education systems to improve improvement science from Clemson University in June of 2026. So if you could please welcome our speaker for the morning. Yes, please.
All righty. I requested a Britney Spears head mic, but he said no. I mean, I would rock it in a heartbeat. Okay, there we go. Okay, Mike, okay? All right. So first of all, I want to thank Stephen for that introduction. It was too kind. Just a warning, someone told me, someone called me, I'll keep their name secret to protect them, but they said that I was going to come down and be looking in a mirror when I met Stephen. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but they said we would be a lot alike.
Yeah.
Our shirts are
Close,
close too. I will say.
exactly.
Our shirts are close too. But my name is Logan Greene. I am actually leading the classroom. I'm going into administration. So as my wife so eloquently put, you're becoming a they or a them. So anytime she gets mad at me, I'm sure she'll let me know. I am here today representing Echoes and Reflections. Show of hands, any of you familiar with Echoes and Reflections? Okay. About half of you, that's good. That means that this will be good. Maybe a third of you. So Echoes and Reflections, we are a joint program in the Anti-Defamation League and USC Shoah and Yad Vashem, and we support middle and high school educators to teach their students about the Holocaust with students and impact. We have worked with, I'll go ahead and tell you, I made a boo-boo and Jen's gonna get mad at me. This number is like 178,000 now. It's a very high number. It's great, educators across the country. And I will go ahead and tell you, I'm a big proponent of the good old business term, eat your own dog food. Y'all know what that means, eat your own dog food? So it's the idea of if you are representing something, you should be using it in your own classroom. And I used Echoes and Reflections every year I taught the Holocaust after I learned about it. I think it is phenomenal. So I am here backing up what I will be showing you today. So I always like to start off any talk I give on the Holocaust with Roman Kent. Any of you familiar with Roman Kent by chance? Okay, sadly, we lost Roman a few years ago. He was a giant of a man, and I just think he is so eloquent to start any discussion on the Holocaust.
I seriously went through that Auschwitz. And in a way, considered everything else after the war. I came here with nothing. And went to school, went to university, went to business. And some people may say, you accomplished a lot. That may be so. But therefore I feel that after what I went through, I should give back something to the society that I received. And therefore I feel that it is important for us to what I have installed in my children, I hope, not to be a bystander. I think the atrocities which happened because of what I call the world stood by and did nothing. But the world is a big world. The world consists of individuals. And therefore, it is important that individuals do things, that individuals be involved and get involved. I am involved in the projects of keeping the memory of the Holocaust alive, so that maybe new generation can learn something from it, so that will not be repeated again. Even in the midst of the atrocities, there is some goodness. And it is always easier to teach the new generation if you show them not only the evil, but if you show them you have the right to be good, you should be good.
So just starting off with a little bit of reflection about Roman. what should we take from this as educators, from what Roman said? What's one thing you took as an educator from what you heard from Roman? Go for it. Thank you.
A lot of the times when kids are feeling like a group, they don't have to do something by themselves. They don't need to be the ones to stand up and do something because somebody else will do it. But all of us individually, we're all individually here, so we all can play an individual part.
I love that. I love that. And 2 weeks ago, I had the incredible honor of being in Calgary for a week teaching Canadian high school students. And that was our whole theme of that week. I taught different groups, ended up meeting 1,500 Canadian Holocaust students. By the way, if you want, or high school students, by the way, if you want pressure, walk into a lecture hall with 300 high school students with the expectation of keeping them awake for an hour and a half. It was tough, but they were amazing. But the theme of ours was individual choices, breaking the Holocaust down into individual choices. And that is the way I've taught Holocaust in my classroom for the better part of 15 years. So that was great. Anything else? What else did we hear? Yes. Great.
And the students really resonated with it. And one of the talk debates we had about it, I think aligns with what Roman is saying, which is there really is no such thing as a bystander. You might think that, oh, if I don't get involved, I'm neutral, but actually, as Wazelle said, neutrality just helps the oppressor. And so you're either complicit or you're not. That's it. There is no in between. You're either complicit, and doing nothing is being complicit to a degree, or you're helpful. So you need to live your life in a way that you're proud of who you are.
That is fantastic. Let's get one more. I love that, by the way. I taught AP government for several years, and I had a little Holocaust unit embedded in it because, well, I wanted to. And one of my students argued that they wanted the term bystander taken out of the definition, like out of the dictionary. They didn't like it. They just do not think it applies. Anyone else? Maybe one more? Go for it.
Not only talk about the evils of the Holocaust, but something good that you come out of it as well.
Yeah.
A lot of not even just outside of Germany, but there were some Germans that actually saved a lot of the Jews, and other activities where people. Okay, but also people that risk their lives to save those of strangers.
Absolutely. And it's that balance that can be tough to strike. We don't want to romanticize things, obviously, but those lessons can be phenomenal to teach our students and can also be a great way. One thing you're going to see with Echoes and Reflections is we have a saying, and that's take you safely in and then take you safely out. It's one of the reasons I start with Roman. Roman takes us safely in. Some of those stories can be great ways of taking students safely out. So I love that. And I think we had one more over here. I think we had, yeah, go for it, please. The right to be good. I love that. You have the right to be good. I mean, it's such a simple lesson that we can take with our students. I think that's so great. 100%. Thank you. And I do have a short little request for you as we go over kind of our welcome and our agenda here. I would ask if you could please sign in. And I know you signed in through the museum here, but Echoes and USC, one of the reasons USC agrees to fund us and we have funders and things like that is that we can prove that we are working out here with teachers and we can get that number up. And if I don't do this, my boss will yell at me, which she may anyway. It's okay.
It's very hard, by the way, everyone. It's not easy to get speakers without paying honorariums, travel fees, etc. And Echoes and Reflections pays for all of Logan being here, which is fantastic for a small museum with a low budget. So
yes,
thank you, Echoes and Reflections.
This one, just go ahead and say foundations will be fine for today. You can just say foundations for today. They know what the code is, and then so yeah, you can just do foundations for today. So we're going to go over our objectives, and then we're going to look at our pedagogical principles, which most of you are not familiar with Echoes. So this is going to be really good, and it's always a good idea, I think, anytime you're going to spend a week talking about the Holocaust, let's go back and let's just make sure we're set in our basics and our primary skills. Then we're going to look at defining the Holocaust, and then we're going to have one of my favorite talks that I can give, and that is pre-war Jewish life. It is one of my favorite talks we can give. is pre-war Jewish life. I absolutely adore talking about that because I think it's so important with our students. And I'll give you all just a moment here to do that sign in, and I really appreciate it. And the nice thing is we do not have to do this again. All right, and while you all have that pulled up, does anyone need the QR code anymore? Is everyone good? Everyone got the QR code? Great. So there was a little introduction, but I always like to put a picture up and things like that. This is me with my beautiful wife, who is also an educator. She teaches first graders. And those are our two kids. And I always put a picture of her up there because I just adore my wife. What can I say? This is me here in action figure form. And please, everyone, cross your fingers for me. Say a little prayer. I am officially 2 weeks away from defending my dissertation. So I am slightly, thank you. I'm only slightly terrified at this point. Only slightly terrified. So, but it's going to go great. It's been a really fun journey. It's been a really fun journey. And go Clemson. Sorry if there's Florida State fans in here. All right. So here we go. So what are we going to be looking at? We really want to look at a sound pedagogy for Holocaust education. We want to look at what are some enhancements you can use from ECHOs to help your classroom. And one thing, discover classroom-ready assets. My dissertation is literally on professional learning satisfaction. And one of the biggest things is, what can we actually take from this in our classrooms? What can we use? What is actually usable for us? And visual history testimonies. You're going to see ECHOs is built on testimony. It's what we love. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We do want to enhance your personal knowledge about the Holocaust. And we want to build confidence and capacity because, let's just be honest here, is this a scary subject to teach at times? Yeah, I mean, it can be very, very nerve-wracking and you can have anxiety with it. So we want to help build that confidence and capacity to teach this subject. So before we begin, I do want you to see essentially the heart of Echoes and Reflections. If you go to our website at any time, and it's echoesandreflections.org, so you can just go right there, and you will see this panel over here to teach. And when you open it up, these are our units. Everything I'm going to show you over the next 2 days is on that website. And here's the nice thing. It is free. It will always be free. We do not charge. Everything is up there. And this is what I like. Who are our people who are brand new to teaching the Holocaust? Anyone brand new to teaching the Holocaust? All right, we have several people, okay? How many of you are nervous about teaching the Holocaust in your classroom because you might get questioned about where your resources come from, things like that, just the climate, everything with your districts can be scary sometimes. Everything we put on our website is vetted by USC and it is vetted by Yad Vashem. So you know it's good. You know it's good. And this is what I love is, it is a full-fledged curriculum from start to finish. Anything you need from the Holocaust, we have an aspect of it. Yes, sir. Yes, so USC is the University of Southern California, and they have an entire branch called the Shoah Foundation, which is focused on Holocaust remembrance. And then Yad Vashem is the official Holocaust organization of Israel. So both of those are our partners. So you know if you're using anything from Echoes, it has been researched repeatedly, and it's good. You can be secure in your classroom. If you're using Echoes, it's also why the museum was more than happy to partner with Echoes for this, which we thank y'all and we appreciate it greatly. So let's get into it. How do we teach the Holocaust? Easy, right? Easy, right? We can do this in 30 minutes and take the rest of the day off. No. So I want you to start with a beginning question here. We have varying age groups in here. I am 42. The gray is starting. I'm 42. We've got some people who have taught longer and we have some people who are younger. I want you to think back. How was the Holocaust taught to you? And what stood out? So I want you to take a moment and just reflect on that. And if you're virtual, if there's something that could stand out that you would like to throw in the chat, we'd love to get your perspectives as well. I don't want you to think we're ignoring you. What stood out to you? And I'm going to ask you a follow-up question after this. So someone tell me, is there something about the Holocaust you learned in school that stood out to you? Yes. That can stand out, absolutely. That you were not taught the Holocaust in school. That can absolutely stand out. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I think the thing that stood out the most was when I was in school, she was the same age. I, like, when we were reflecting on everything that was going on, it was just crazy to me that we were the same age, doing the same stuff.
Great. Great. Absolutely. So that reflected piece. I'm glad you brought up Anne Frank. I think Anne Frank, how many of you raise your hand? Anne Frank was central to your education about the Holocaust. Yeah, I think we can all say that, right? And Anne Frank is central. And you're going to see her picture pop up here in just a moment. Anything else? All right. Yes. Thank you. Okay.
And I just remember the devastation, and I just had a really hard time grasping it, and realizing I had Jewish friends that I was in school with, and just looking at them and going, "Oh my gosh, this was horrendous."
Absolutely. So yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Volunteer to and
Wow. I'm loving the varying ways here. Yes.
For me, I was horrified because obviously Lisa, but I was the only person in my little Rossby town who had any background with that.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great perspective. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Well, it was never covered in school when I was in school, but my mom had bought a series of Time Life books covering different periods of history, and there was one on World War II, and I just remember it was mostly visual. There wasn't a lot of support to help me to understand or interpret what was in all the photographs, but I was exposed to a lot of the visual evidence without a lot of surrounding pedagogical support. That really stuck with me.
That is an absolutely lovely segue that I'm going to kick off from. So I'll tell you a little story about young Logan, 5th grade, rural Alabama middle school. And our curriculum in 5th grade was modern US history at that time, and Alabama connected to it. We sit down, and I remember my history teacher, who he was a good man, but his way of teaching the Holocaust was we sat down and we looked at photos of
I turned it. Thank you.
I
did it
can
again.
feel it coming in the air. There we go. Now, we all know it would not be good professional learning without at least one tech hiccup. So there we go. It's all good. Absolutely. We're on our way. So Logan is 5th grade, walks in, and I remember this is the only thing I remember about 5th grade. Walk in, and our teacher, like I said, was a good man, but he looked at it and said, "We're going to learn about the Holocaust today." And he immediately put, this was old school transparencies, a transparency photo of Bergen-Belsen and piles of bodies. No, just boom. Unfortunately, is that an uncommon story for the 1990s, 1980s? It's truly not, sadly, in a lot of classrooms. There was a belief of the shock value, right? And I always like to kind of, when we're talking about our pedagogy here, to really think about that and how we're doing it. And a great point of that would be last 2 weeks ago in Calgary, I warned them, didn't show any videos of bodies, but we did have a short video that included the famous Einsatzgruppen shooting video that's not gory, anything like that. I warned the kids before. We had talked about it, we had contextualized, but I still told them, hey, you're going to see this, and I need you to understand the background behind it. So these are our pedagogical principles. Now, I have been teaching the Holocaust for almost 2 decades. I've been teaching with Echoes for 15 years, which makes me an OG. And I will tell you, I still have a laminated copy of this next to my desk. And I revisited every time I taught a lesson, I looked at these to make sure I was doing what I should do. So these are our pedagogical principles. And they're things that make sense, but they also can really push you as an educator. So I want you to play with these for a moment here, about 2 minutes. So look at the pedagogical principles, and everyone online do this as well. Examine them, read them real fast. But here's what I want you to think about, and really think about it. As a Holocaust educator, which one are you the most comfortable with? But also as a Holocaust educator, which one are you the least confident in? Which one gives you pause when talking about the Holocaust? Which one do you feel most comfortable in, but which one gives you pause? I'll give you about 60 seconds to really think about it. And don't worry, you're going to have time to discuss. Okay. Would anyone like to share which one you feel most comfortable with? Which one do you feel really good about? Which one do you feel really good about?
I feel really good about fostering empathy. I feel like,
Fostering?
yeah, I mean, it lends itself very well. If you're teaching people who have a soul and you're teaching them about something that is soulless, there's going to be a connection there. You know, they're going to be like, how is this allowed to happen? They're going to feel bad. They're going to want to do something.
Yeah.
At least I hope so.
I think that's a great aspect. And I will go ahead and tell you, as someone who taught middle school for the last 5 years, I need those reminders that my students have souls sometimes. Because it can be tough. Absolutely. And this is something that can really, everyone who teaches middle school is like, amen, I know. Anyone else? A different one you feel really comfortable in? Go for it.
Kind of backpacking off of that in general, in a classroom where the empathy is not there, because sometimes there are groups where there's not. Encouraging inquiry-based learning and critical thinking, because sometimes it's the right question that can get them thinking on the correct path. So when I am approaching Holocaust education, I'm approaching how do I make sure that they're thinking about it in the way that's actually going to bring it home.
I don't think it's the one I'm best at, but it's my favorite, is encourage inquiry-based learning for this reason. That's my get out of jail free card. And what I mean by that is, I teach both social studies and DLA, depends on the year, depending on what my admin needed me to do. However, if I'm encouraging inquiry-based learning and critical thinking, can I bring the Holocaust into my English class and have justification for it with my admin? Absolutely. So when my admin walks in and goes, okay, I don't see Holocaust in your course of study. Why are you reading Holocaust diaries? Well, theme is in my course of study. Thematic evidence is in my course of study. All of those things are, right? And it's a great way to keep that in mind and to use that. Would anyone like to share one more, maybe different, that you really like, that you feel really comfortable with?
I think
We
teaching
also
the human
have
story.
some.
That was online. That was online. Hold on just a second, Kayla.
Really quick, teaching the human story. So as an ELA teacher, my main focus when we read is talking about empathy and how reading builds empathy. So then fostering empathy, making it relevant, encouraging those inquiry-based questions, all of that ties into the human story. And that's my most comfortable.
Absolutely. Yeah, Kayla, we would love to hear from someone on the Zoom.
I'm going to read out a couple that people have put in the chat because they are answering your questions as you go here. So we have from Lee Holder, most confident using primary source materials, least confident is inquiry-based learning. From Elizabeth S, we have she is most comfortable with vocabulary and defining terms, least comfortable with topic to teach, or teaching the human story. We have Yara here, who is most comfortable defining terms and least comfortable making the Holocaust relevant. And then Nicholas, I have here writing, I am most comfortable with the context and the one he is least comfortable with is making it relevant.
Thank you for that. So I will be the first one to volunteer on which one are you least comfortable with. And normally it surprises people because I've been doing this for a hot minute. Defining the terms. And this is why. Every year I teach the Holocaust, I kick myself about 2 weeks in because I'm rolling, I'm teaching a diary. I feel like I am every teacher of the year rolled into one in front of, I've got the kids eating out of the palm of my hand. I've got them feeling empathetic, all the things I want. And then the kid goes, yeah, what do these 3 words mean? Because I'm a little confused. And I go, God dang it. Because if they said that, there are other kids who forgot to. And I wish to do all of these cool things that you can do from an educational standpoint with primary sources in the Holocaust, with text, with visuals, everything. And I forget to do the most basic thing. Make sure the kids know what you're talking about. And I every year, I think I do enough of it. And every year I realize, no, I didn't. And I kick myself because what did I miss by not making sure they knew those terms? And that's something I think we always need to remember. Someone else, we'll get some people in the room and then we'll get a couple of Zooms. Okay, hands went up fast on the people feeling not comfortable. I love that y'all are willing to share, by the way. This is amazing. Go for it.
So I think given the climate that we have in the last couple of years, I think providing a background on anti-Semitism is really difficult for me to navigate. I teach middle school as well, so there's that empathy issue. But walking that fine line that comes up in the classroom and making sure that everybody is comfortable and what does it mean to be anti-Semitic, how to explain that to middle schoolers is difficult.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think most educators can feel that themselves, at least in some way. I teach at a school that I say is an enigma wrapped in a paradox at times, because we, on the outside, you look, we're very high achieving, but we also have kids who struggle, and we do a great job of helping them. But we're also more diverse than the schools around us. But typically, when diverse, now I can think, oh, you have a large Hispanic population, or you have, and our district loves to hand us ESL things in Spanish, and we're like, well, 90% of our ESL kids are from the Middle East. Spanish doesn't do much for us. When I teach the Holocaust and I'm making sure of those things, it is tricky. It is. So I thank you for sharing that. And one thing I hope is that you're going to see the way we help you feel a little more confident in that, hopefully. And that's great. I believe he wanted to share, and then maybe we'll get a Zoom person.
Yeah, I agree. I chose the anti-Semitism as well, but mine's very specific. I am Jewish, and my students are predominantly Hispanic, which are a lot of Catholic, a lot of evangelical Christian. So when I bring up the history, which unfortunately, a lot of the history of anti-Semitism spanned from, at that point, the Catholic. Well, it was just the Christian church at that point. That's where it spanned from. So when I'm telling a group of students that, it's your ancestors that started anti-Semitism or part of it, I get a lot of stern looks and kids upset. I get parent callings and why'd you tell my son or whatever that the Christians did this to the Jews, and so it's a lot of misconception. So it's very difficult to explain it in a way that they'll understand that I'm not attacking, that I'm just trying to be very factual.
Absolutely. And that's the balance we have to try and draw on. And again, I hope our resources will help you with that. Is there someone in the room who has a different one that you don't feel quite as confident in, that gives you a little bit moment of pause? I'm gonna go over here and.
So I wouldn't really say it's a struggle, but it's like making the Holocaust relevant. Obviously, it's something that we can draw a lot of parallels to other genocides in the world, either happening right now or, previously, like in like Rwanda. But at the same time, it's like knowing, again, what's going to be towing the line.
I guess.
Yeah,
know
no,
what word say, but it's like if kids are gonna get mad or parents are gonna get mad or if administration's gonna get mad about certain
absolutely.
things being said. So
No, I think that's a great point, and it's not up here, but we have there's a common phrase in Holocaust that is "don't compare pain." You can bring threads of history together, but you don't want to compare pain. That can be a very difficult line to walk at times because there's so much power in those threads of history, but you don't want to compare pain because we're talking about the uncomparable. And then also, we don't know what trauma the students in our class have. That's one of the trickiest things. I really, I don't want to say enjoy, but I think the teaching of the diaries from the ghettos, and you're going to get those in Salvage Pages, are one of the most powerful ways of teaching the Holocaust. But teachers can get themselves into a muddy situation when they're talking about the hunger and things like that if they don't know what their students are going home to as far as that goes. So I think that that's a great aspect. What are people saying online? And then we'll grab you, don't worry. voice from
Right now,
beyond.
the last
Oh, there we go.
comment I have for this question is from Elizabeth S. And she just comments that front-loading vocabulary is an instructional strategy that she thinks should be implemented across all subjects.
Yeah. I should have done a better job of that in my teaching career, and I'm still mad at myself over it. So let's hear our last one, if you can kind of help us out.
The teaching high school. Yep. The use of primary source materials because of the time constraints within 50 minutes. So if I have testimony from survivors and they're talking slowly, my kids are going to start falling asleep. So when I taught it this year, I had to rely on a shock value a little bit. I played clips from The Pianist, the movie, so they can understand how they were transported to the camp. So from going to somebody talking about their personal experience to them seeing the clip from the movie, the intensity, they immediately wake up and they're like, wow. So I think I'll definitely can use more help in how to approach the primary source material to keep them engaged.
Boy, do I have resources for you over the next 2 days. So that's going to be perfect. And that's a great segue. That's a great segue. So as we go through the next 2 days, and you have me for the next 2 days, and Stephen is absolutely right. The speakers this week are phenomenal, and I promise they will get better once I leave. And I will go ahead and tell you, though, I always like to say this. Keep these in mind. You'll see this slide again, because I'm going to ask you to constantly revisit it and think about these 9 principles. How are they affecting your pedagogy, and how are they changing as we go through our talk? So now, yes, absolutely.
Just for anybody that hasn't met Jasmine yet, any of these that are uncomfortable, she's incredible at coming into your school, helping you start that program, and then modeling what that's going to look like so that you have a familiarity with whichever of these might be uncomfortable. She's been at my school multiple times this year.
She did it this year.
Yeah, so, right, it makes a huge difference to have somebody model what that looks like so that you're not afraid to make it a visual learner. Please leave a Google review.
I think that's phenomenal that y'all have a resource like Jasmine down here. It makes me very jealous. In wee old Alabama, we do not have such a thing yet, and maybe one day. So, what was the Holocaust? Simple question, right? I asked this question to Calgarian, how you say it, by the way, learn that. Calgarian high school students 3 weeks ago, and some of their responses were fascinating. We're going to do it a little different here, and it's Kayla handling our virtual, right? Awesome. Kayla, in just a moment, I'm going to get you to throw them in some breakout rooms. So here we go. What comes to mind, and unfortunately our Zoom thing is a little over, but that's okay. No, that's all right. What comes to mind when students think about the Holocaust? What do you think comes to mind when students think about the Holocaust? So, what do you think?
goodness, sorry, I got intimidated. I always hear the number 6 million.
Okay, 6 million. Sure. What else? What else comes to mind? pictures, visuals. Okay. All right.
I hear a lot about the gas chambers. That's something that sticks with them a lot.
Gas chambers. Absolutely. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Just the name Hitler is a big one, and propaganda. I hear a lot about too.
All right. So, oh, Jasmine has her hands up. Oh, okay. Let's hear from Jasmine.
So I would say when I talk to kids about it, the first thing that comes to mind is all of the Nazi propaganda. So immediately Nazi related things. So Hitler, gas chambers, death, firing squads, whatever it is, it's very Nazi focused on the kids' side.
Okay. So this is not at all a peer-reviewed study, but I did do an interesting little thing with my kids for 3 years when I taught a Holocaust studies class, and I kept records. And I asked them specifically, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about the Holocaust? And over about 120 kids, so I got a pretty good number. 3 things. And as I like to say, the 3 A's. Auschwitz, and Adolf. Typically, if you ask someone on the street, what's the first thing you think of the Holocaust? You've got better than good odds that one of these 3 is going to come up. So why are these the 3 things that come up? Because we automatically think of perpetrators, and Anne Frank is the most famous victim of the Holocaust, and Auschwitz is the most famous locale related to the Holocaust. But we want to get a better definition than Auschwitz and Adolf, right? So what we're going to do is this. This is my first classroom-ready activity you can do. And I call it a reverse pyramid. Anyone ever heard of a reverse pyramid? All right. You probably haven't, because I came up with it. For this, at least. Okay? This is a reverse pyramid. All right. Kayla, can you hear me?
Yep.
Get ready in a moment to throw them in breakout rooms of 4 people each. Can you do that?
Sounds good.
And we'll give them about 3 minutes when I say, okay? All right, so what I want you to do is, if you're in the room, in 1 minute, I want you to write a definition of the Holocaust. That's all. I want you to define the Holocaust. That's all. I want you to define it in 1 minute. I want you to see what you define it. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you, there are no right answers. There's wrong answers, but there's no right answers. All right? Don't feel pressured. So, in person, take 1 to 2 minutes and compose a definition of the Holocaust. Kayla, go ahead and put them in their breakout rooms. If you're virtual, do this on your own quietly for 2 minutes. Just write it down on a pad or something that you have. Okay? Go for it. 1 to 2 minutes. Will they still be able to hear me in the breakout rooms?
One thing with breakout rooms, they won't be able to hear you.
Okay.
Until we call them back. So they have the instructions. Are they going to break out? Are they going to talk in the groups? Kayla can send them a message and tell them what to do.
Perfect. Kayla, have you put them in their breakout rooms?
Not yet. Do
Okay.
you need them now?
When you go in your breakout rooms, everyone, for just 1 minute, everyone write down your definition of the Holocaust. But once you're in your breakout room, after about a minute, combine your definitions together and see what you come up with, and then we'll pull you back in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. So my in-person people, about 30 more seconds.
And Kayla, if some people might be put into breakout rooms incidentally with people who are here in person, just see if you know who those people are by chance. If someone's by themselves and says, I'm in a room by myself, just move them.
And by the way, I have done this in my classroom for years, and students, I promise, really do. They dig on it. They like it. All right, here we go. So everyone should have some definition written down. So what I want you to do now is, and what's nice is we've got a mixture of people in here. Whoop.
I gotta do that.
You're good. All right, there we go. There we go. Next, Find one person at your table. Find a new friend. It's that lovely icebreaker game we all love. Find a new friend. Okay. For 2 minutes, compare your definitions. What's different? What's the same? And adjust your definition accordingly. If you see something that you think is good on theirs, combine the definitions and see where we land. Go for it.
People different.
Okay, I just think about it in the bigger picture. It's a systematic, large-scale murder.
Okay.
And I like your word persecution, but murder is, to me, it's a planned murder or orchestrated murder and of a large group of people, of the Jewish people. You want to make it very clear because the target of the Holocaust was to
Guys.
Travis, can you unmute yourself? Right. So I work with younger kids, fourth and fifth grades in a Holocaust education. So in fourth grade, it's a very gentle introduction where we bring the Holocaust survivor to a school and we ask kids to attend with their parents. So they don't have a definition of the Holocaust. We don't give them the vocabulary. We just gently introduce them. Obviously, that will traumatize them just to educate them. And fifth grade, this is where it's a mandatory curriculum and we dive in a little deeper. And actually, this year I brought fighters to Orlando to the Holocaust Research Center. So it was.
Oh, are you in a Jewish school or are you in
Yes, I'm a private school in South Florida.
Oh, which one?
Check Hilo.
Okay. I'm from Coral Springs.
Oh, okay.
So I'm from
Come on. How would you define the Holocaust at your table? Go for it.
Whole breakout group.
Good.
No, it's specified the prayer. That's not the not the collaborators. Where yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah. Well, no credit for that. That's
30 seconds.
And then, is there anything you think is okay? It's really good. Anything?
Okay, 30 seconds. We're going to come back. 30 seconds.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Wow. Okay, that was impressive. I can tell I'm in a room full of teachers. Okay, so first of all, I'll ask again, how do you think this would go in your classroom? You'd probably have more time to devote to it in your classroom. Would it work well in your classroom, you think? As long as they've got a little bit, but you would be amazed. I hope y'all noticed something. Your tables broke down into very specific word usage. I heard a phenomenal conversation over here, and I'm going to call her out. I apologize, Hart. All right. She was so happy because this I was talking about, we were using the word systematic, and she went, so did I, yes. And it was very nice to see that. So you'll see that power come out with your students, and they'll surprise you. They will make better definitions than you might think. Now, not all, but you'd be surprised. So, is one of my tables feeling brave? Yes, ma'am.
I want to have G finish or say the second word she said after systematic.
Ooh, what was it?
Systematic scapegoating.
Scapegoating. That word was very popular with the Calgarian high school students, interestingly enough. Okay, who wants to share their definition? Does any table feel brave? Do they feel like they've got a definition that they feel comfortable sharing? Okay, Stephen has picked on someone, which is his prerogative. It's his seminar.
Okay. The systematic scapegoating and targeted dehumanization and displacement of Jewish people and other minorities with the ultimate goal of genocidal annihilation.
I believe we can give. Okay, I think we can give a golf clap for sure. All right. Is there another table? Okay, right here. Fantastic. And then we'll see, Kayla, while the mic's getting over there, do we have some in the chat?
I have one from Elizabeth. I love the participation, Elizabeth, who says the systematic murder of Jewish people.
Okay. All right. Let's hear from this table.
All right, we have the Holocaust is the attempt at the systematic extermination of European Jews and their history, culture, and any traces of Jewish life. Marginalized communities such as Roma, Slavs, and people with physical or mental disabilities, and others who oppose the Nazi regime and Hitler's views from 1933 to 1945.
Okay. So, right off the bat, did we see some differences in this table and this table? All right, and I believe this table raised their hand, and we'll hear from them. And then we're going to talk about what words y'all brought through and the differences y'all brought in and how powerful that can be. Let's talk about it. People are refusing the mic.
Hi. We had a lot of the same stuff that you guys had. I just wanted to bring up something that I think is super important to this conversation. Personally, is that we've got to understand that the people who perpetrated this did it because they saw themselves as victims. And instead of taking it into their own hands and saying, we have the power to change our society, our economics, everything that's happening, they decided to blame another group of people in another groups, not one group, many groups, and try to, as many said, scapegoat and physically eliminate them. If we forget that part, it just becomes a crime against Jews. But this is, as we see, repeated over and over again throughout history to many people groups throughout the world, including Arabs, to each other. And we miss it. If we don't teach that part, we miss it. We don't teach them what they need to know. I said, sorry, the victim-centered response to political economic downfall that led to the scapegoating and the attempt of physical elimination of people groups.
Okay. So first of all, thank you all. And thank you for that. That goes back to what do we always need to do? Contextualize the history, right? That's one of our big pedagogical principles there. So we did this reverse pyramid and y'all did great. Thank you. We saw different definitions. Did each definition have some important aspects to it? Did we see similarities across every definition? Someone tell me, what's one similarity we saw across every definition? Yeah, the word systematic. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you. Your students will probably not use the word systematic. Some of them will, and it will surprise you, and you'll want to give them a cookie or something. But most of them probably will not. But you'd be amazed the words they will use that mean the same thing. You'll hear your students sometimes, if they have at least some knowledge, they might use the word organized. And they're on the right track. They're thinking the right way. But systematic, great. What else did we notice that was similar across all three? Dehumanization. Yeah, and that's such an important word for us to use. Genocide, murder, extermination. So there's a focus on those. All right? So let's see. We're going to examine two actual definitions of the Holocaust. Now, on the Echoes and Reflections website, we have this whole activity. We don't have the reverse pyramid. I keep prodding Jen to add it. Maybe she will. But there's an activity to do this where you look at the differences and the similarities. Here's the USHMM. Yeah, the Holocaust was the systematic state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945 across Europe and North Africa. The height of the persecution and murder occurred during World War II. By the end of the war in 1945, the Germans and their collaborators had killed nearly 2 out of every 3 European Jews. What are the most important words except systematic in the first part of the definition? Because we know systematic is really important. We've already talked about it. Yeah, what do we got?
Maybe it's just me, but I looked at the word collaborators and the word state sponsored because it does shift the responsibility to other people as well as the Nazis because they were enabled and supported by a lot of people. So they were accomplices.
Yeah. First of all, I think state sponsored is incredibly important because we need to talk about that with our students and make sure we break that apart with them, but also collaborators. If it was just the Nazis, could they have done everything that happened? No, and that's something our students need to understand. All right, good. Anything else in there? Anything else we see? Murder, yeah. I agree.
Realistic to say extermination or genocide, and when you say murder to the children, you've got again contextualize the history, but you have to say the word systematic murder.
And I think, and I've had this talk before with people, I think murder is important because it individualizes. 6 million that's up there, we didn't talk about that yet. I always say this, that's an incomprehensible number. For our students especially, they can't visualize 6 million. My state has 6 million people in it. I know Florida, y'all are kicking way above that. Okay, Alabama has 6 million people in it, basically. That's really hard for them to just even get that comprehension, which in a way is a good thing. It's hard for them to comprehend that. But murder helps individualize it, right? Now, something here we only saw on this definition from this table is our dates. Our dates are important. Keep things going with our kids. All right? And I do think collaborators are very important. And then, of course, nearly 2 out of every 3. Again, that helps transition us from just focusing on 6 million to focusing on a number the kids can comprehend a little easier. The Nazis believed that Germans were racially superior. They believed Jews were a threat to the so-called German racial community. While Jews were the primary victims, the Nazis also targeted other groups for persecution and murder. The Nazis claimed that Roma, people with disabilities, some Slavic peoples, especially Poles and Russians, and Black people were biologically inferior. The regime persecuted other groups because of politics, ideology, or behavior. These groups included communists, socialists, Jehovah's Witnesses, gay men, and people the Nazis called asocials and professional criminals. Please. Yep.
My attention is focused on North Africa.
Yes.
So usually when you're teaching just in the classroom, we usually focus in Europe, not in North Africa. So I'm curious. Is it because most of the examination happen in Europe?
Yes. So you're still going to see actions related to the Holocaust in North Africa, which you can bring in. And the definition wants to, the whole goal of this definition is to encompass the whole event. So they want to make sure they include that. I think that's a great question, though. And my students love to ask that question. Wait a minute, it happened outside of Europe. Yes, people were taken from North Africa. People were attacked in North Africa. So absolutely. That's a great question to ask. What else steps forward in this one? All right. I can grab this one, Stephen. All right.
Hi. The thing that's what the different groups of people stood out for me. I read a couple books about the persecution of gay men in the Holocaust, and so I'm glad that it adds other people as well.
Yes, and one thing I do like about this one is it does a good combination of noting that Jews were the primary victims. These were the primary victims, and we need to remember that. but there were also other victims that are brought into this, and that's important. I will tell you, fostering empathy, I think, is one of our most important pedagogical principles. The first time in my classroom, I bring in the systematic state-sponsored murder is actually with the T4 program. And the reason is this. For those of you, just show of hands so we have some context here. Who knows what the T4 program is? Who does not? Okay, great little side here real fast. The T4 program was the systematic murder of people with disabilities. These were German citizens with disabilities. So, curious to see if anyone can figure out, first of all, it was the first, but also, why do you think I start with the T4 program when I talk about systematic murder with my students? Why would that be the first one?
I think that fosters empathy because I have both my children have special needs and people around in the classroom have special needs. So I think they're able to connect with that easier.
Yeah, we have in my school is a large middle school. We have 1,100 students. I know that may not be large in Florida and Alabama. It's pretty big. We have 1,100 students. We have one Jewish student in the whole school. Yeah, one. One. Every one of my students knows someone who would have been affected by the T4 program. So it's a moment where the kids have that personal connection, and it does help it helps the empathy grow throughout the unit. Of course.
I teach 7th and 8th grade ELA, and when I was reading The Giver this year, we talked about how, because the kids were asking me, like, if this kid had like a missing limb or something like that, would they have let him be in the community? And I said, I don't think so, because he would be seen as different. So then the kid, actually one of my students brought this up, and then we talked about how that is compared to the Holocaust and how they wanted people that were perfect, or like in The Giver.
Yeah. And that's a great place to put a thread in there and maybe have a discussion about that. Great. Who else? What is something in there that really sticks out to you?
I taught that part just to establish progression.
Yeah.
Show them how it's going to evolve step by step, including so I didn't teach him just in a big way. I just kind of like broke it down throughout a week. And then Jasmine was there one day showing, helping me with the lesson. But by starting with the T4, it establishes a progression of a murder, of killing.
Yep.
Okay. Dehumanizing their own citizens will make it easy to dehumanize Jewish people in other countries.
Yep. Absolutely. Great. All right.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something that might be helpful to remember. The connection of the T4 program to the beginning of the establishment of death camps. Over 90 of the people who were actually serving in the T4 program transferred to the Operation Reinhard camps. It wasn't just the same idea, it was also the same people.
Exactly. Same persecutors.
The same perpetrators.
Yes.
And it connects the groups in a little bit of a different way than maybe what we sometimes say.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And we'll do one more. And then Kayla, if we have someone online who's added something, please let me know.
What really stuck out to me was the Jews were a threat, because students have, like, their main question is the why. Why were Jews the main target? So that stuck out to me.
Yeah, I think that verbiage of the word threat is really important to keep in mind. And it goes back to what she shared earlier about the people doing the persecution thought they were victims themselves. And it goes back to that. That's great. Kayla, do we have anyone online that shared anything that we might want to address?
Let's see. We have a book recommendation from Lee Holder, The Holocaust in North Africa. And then we have from Stephen, he says, the problem I face, though, since teaching in EOC class, I only get one day to teach about the Holocaust. How does one use that day or less, which is 50 minutes to teach about the Holocaust?
We will cover that shortly. in a way. So there you go. All right, so we're going to look at a different definition real fast. All right, and this is Yad Vashem's. So Yad Vashem's, the Holocaust was unprecedented genocide. Total and systematic, perpetrated by Nazi Germany and its collaborators with the aim of annihilating the Jewish people. The primary motivation was the Nazis' anti-Semitic racist ideology. Between 1933 and 1941, Nazi Germany pursued a policy that dispossessed the Jews of their rights and their property, followed by the branding and concentration of the Jewish population. This policy gained broad support in Germany and much of occupied Europe. In 1941, following the invasion of the Soviet Union, the Nazis and their collaborators launched the systematic mass murder of the Jews. By 1945, nearly 6 million Jews have been murdered. Before we begin, I use both definitions in my classroom because I like both for different ways. In a way, I wish I could combine them, but then we'd be talking one really long definition. So, what's similar? What do we see that's similar? What word? Systematic again, right? Collaborators, they both bring up the fact that we have collaborators. What else? Nazis, obviously. What else? The years. But what's different about the years? And it's one thing I really like about Yad Vashem's definition in the classroom. What were you saying? Yeah, it's chronological, right? It is that progression. 33 to 41 is very different from 41 to 45. It's very different, right? And that helps your kids that Auschwitz at the snap of a finger. It happened. And this gives great progression with this definition. Yeah. This one doesn't. It treats it as, it's interesting. And it starts off with that with the word unprecedented, which I think is important. Yes, ma'am.
What was the first one? U.S.
No. And all right. So we see the differences. Also, y'all kind of skipped what is the biggest difference in this one. This one is solely focused on the Jewish people as the victims, and it skips that. It does not mention the other groups. All right? Yeah, and this one talks about dispossessed and all of that. Yes. This one does such a good job of giving chronological. The USHMM does a great job of bringing forth all of the victims and some different aspects. Yes.
Connotation is obviously different and the word choice is much heavier and more emotional
Yep.
from this definition, but also in the previous definition, it was state sponsored, where here it's a policy that dispossessed, sorry. Policy is different than state sponsored and not all of our students know that. So that's very specific versus the first one that was state sponsored because that's much more general.
Absolutely.
So the connotation is much stronger and emotive in this one than the other one.
So I want you to think about this. Raise your hand if you have a week with the Holocaust in your classroom. Okay.
4 hands going up here.
If you have more than a week about the Holocaust in your classroom. Okay, so about half of you. 3 days for the Holocaust. 2 days. Okay. I know it's hard to think about. But if you spend a day on these two definitions in the pyramid activity, how much context could you give your kids? A lot. You could give them a ton of context. It's hard for us to balance the timing, but it might be worth it. It really might be. All right. So, very quickly, you do want to give your students the definition of genocide. However, remember, genocide was defined when? is the fact that it's not just the what. It's not just the what. It's the killing, right? It's other things as well.
I'm just curious, given everything that's happening right now in the world and the complete inversion of that word, how in the world, this is what I struggle with. Because people call things genocide right now that are not. And how in the world do you deal with that when people are coming in from all different walks of life?
We could do that really basically without getting into a big political discussion. Let's not jump on that. Okay? All right.
Okay, I'm gonna
Go ahead, Logan.
I'm gonna cop out.
You mean cop out?
I'm gonna cop out without copping out. And this is what I'm gonna say. Your classroom is your classroom. Your district is your district. Your state is your state. I know how I can handle that in my classroom. I can't tell you how you would handle that in your classroom. The phrase you can always use when need be, when you're talking about the Holocaust is, and it's difficult to use this at times, because can you have amazing conversations with your students when you bring in current events? Yes. You're also opening yourself up. So your sentence you can always say, and we use it at Echoes, is, we are sticking to this definition of the genocide in relation to our study of the Holocaust. And then I have had students say, but what about, and then I just robotically parrot it. I'm not saying that's the right answer. But you have to do what is the right decision in your classroom, in your district, in your state. And that's the best answer I can give you as a trainer. Because I like to remind people, you cannot do the amazing things that you're going to do in your classroom with your students if you're not in your classroom. And the fact that you're here today shows you want to do those amazing things.
I mean,
yes.
That what you brought up is a very complicated thing. If you only have one day to teach the Holocaust, you think you're going to unpack defining completely in genocide and then putting it into a context of not only looking at the Holocaust, but talking about everything going on in the world today. If you have time to do that, because there are scholars who are still having fights and debates and discussions right now over different things that are back and forth, and it's not really going to go in anywhere. And I like the way Logan put it. You know, you give the definition, let them unpack it. But I think you run a lot of risk, especially where we are now in Florida. And also run the risk of possibly oversimplifying something, because there's a lot of oversimplification where people start, calling things out and giving opinion, as opposed to having all of the information, where that's what you can do with the Holocaust. We're here studying the Holocaust or whatever you are studying at the time. You run a risk of oversimplifying the issue. Yeah, Mitch.
I was just going to say, one of the easy ways is, I suppose this is another way of copping out, but it's actually accurate. A lot of things fit the definition of genocide. A lot. You don't have to, it doesn't involve killing necessarily. It involves a number of different things. So it doesn't really upset me when I hear people calling things genocide from a lot of different perspectives, because this law allows for a lot of variation. It's just that most people don't understand when they hear the word genocide that it doesn't necessarily mean genocidal mass murder. It can mean other things. And I agree, it's not the time when you're teaching about the Holocaust to try to do something comprehensive about genocide. But we should probably find a way in schools to have some definition, some conversation about how the law defines genocide and whether we think that might need to be worked on some.
If that's your job, how would you could write a letter, Rich. I'd really
let the record show that Mr. Greene did not make that comment.
Yes,
No.
that's why.
Yes, last one. And by the way, these are wonderful conversations and they're difficult conversations. So thank you. I know it is stressful, and these are the decisions you have to make on a daily basis. And they're tough. So thank you.
Okay, I'm not going to get political, promise.
I promise. So I also have similar questions, and being a Jewish faculty member at my school, I've received them. And a teacher, one of my AP teachers, taught me a wonderful way to respond. And so I'm sharing it with you guys. You can edit as you see fit. But, you know, a student brought up, we were doing Holocaust poetry, and a student was like, oh, what about the genocide being committed, XYZ? And so I stopped and I said, I'm so glad that you feel comfortable bringing that up right now. And I could see you're passionate about it. And I can see that your intent is to learn and to inquire and not to attack or derail. I wish I could have that conversation with you, but obviously in Florida, I can't. So here's what I'll do. If you're willing to table it for a little bit when you graduate, let's meet for a cup of coffee at a Panera and let's talk about it. And I've actually had some students take me up on it, and it's been very respectful and helpful, but it lets them feel heard. One of your pedagogical foundations was fostering a supportive learning environment. Yep. If you shut them down entirely, they disengage. If you indulge them, they derail. Yep. So you have to find a way to be empathetic and let them know that even though there are room for diverse opinions, those opinions can't be voiced in the context of the Holocaust lesson. So that's been successful. It's not really a cop-out. It's like I'll get to it when I'm legally able to, but I will. And if you make good on it, you can hear really good perspectives and have good convos.
Absolutely.
See, I think
That was great. It's 401k and the Holocaust. All right, here we go. So how do I use this in my classroom? I have them look at this in relation to, this was passed in 1948 post-Holocaust. Why? Why and how? And why was this needed? Because we're looking at, and one of the best ways you can do this is you can have students look at, this became essentially law, right? How many members of the Einsatzgruppen had law degrees? A lot of them. How many members of the Nazi hierarchy were lawyers? What happened at Wannsee? All of these things you can bring in and have really great discussions with this, while hopefully encouraging those students to be thinking and to be thinking for themselves. All right, so we've got time for one more thing, which is perfect, and that is this. My people who said, how can I teach this in a day? How can I do this in a day? How can I do this quickly? It's tough, and there's no way to do it perfectly, so I wanted to show you something here. Always contextualize the history, right? That's always one of our most important things. This is from Yad Vashem, and it's fairly new, and it's very well done. This is, what is the Holocaust? Has anyone used this before? Cool. Giving you something new. This is what I love about this. These are 3-minute videos. Each. 3-minute videos. There's an introduction one, and then it's broken down into 6 sections. So contextualizing the history, look at this. What do you notice on this timeline in the breakdown of the events? Anyone notice something? And each video is like 3-ish minutes long. It's great in your classroom. And here, I'll tell you what. We're going to watch the introductory video, and then we'll go back. Okay? Oh, that one did not.
It didn't play like the other one.
It did not do not play there. That's okay. Here we go. All right.
The Holocaust was the Nazis' attempt to murder the Jewish people, first in Europe and ultimately everywhere in the world if they could, based on their racist anti-Semitic ideology, which saw the Jews as an ultimate evil. The project the Nazis undertook regarding the Jews began in 1933, their search for a solution to the problem that they saw regarding the Jews, and progressed through various stages and developments right until the end of World War II in 1945.
So that's just a preview. That's just the opening video. And that's what's great for our kids, right? So a great thing is this can be a preload activity. This can be a preload activity for them. And I'll tell you, what I was hoping y'all would notice is, so it's 6 videos. It doesn't jump right into what? The final solution. Instead, it shows this was a what? A progression, and it rose. And it does a wonderful job talking about that. It talks about the Nazi rise to power. It talks about how the first goal was to separate, exclude, and expunge. Then it was war and territorial expansion, and then things change. It's a great way to short and quickly show that to your kids. A great activity in your classroom is you show a video and then you have a 10-minute discussion about that 3-minute video. And it can build that opening contextualization that you can then use throughout the rest of your class. If you only have a day or two to teach the Holocaust, this can be a phenomenal little tool. And if you go to, all you have to do is go to our good friend Google and type in Yad Vashem, what is the Holocaust? And it takes you directly to the site. It's a great way to contextualize the history. Now, we're a little short on time, so I'm just going to show you one last thing here before you get a break, because you could probably use a break from hearing me talk. And that is this. How many of you use timelines in your classroom? We're history teachers and ELA teachers. History teachers love a good timeline. ELA teachers, it depends. Depends. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, there are lots of timelines of the Holocaust. I work with all sorts of different organizations. This is by far my favorite. I already saw her playing with it. All right. It is a fully interactive timeline. And when I say fully interactive, it is fully interactive. What's very cool about it is when you go to an event, you literally go to that event and it will provide a summary of it. But here's what I love. Let's say you want to teach your kids about Kristallnacht. You go to 1938, you find Kristallnacht, you click on it. Went through at Kristallnacht. Then it's going to have a picture of a synagogue on fire. It completely, and it's completely free.
But I pulled that document because when I did it, speaker told us that this is why I'm really comfortable with primary source documents. He said the Germans were amazing record keepers. And then you go, I did. Thank you. But that one particular memo is my entry point into this because I'm not making commentary on it. And I don't do a lot of Holocaust education. I can't do that. I'm an ELA teacher. But it's, if I'm going to teach primary source documents, I pull that sucker up there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so good at that. So the activity I was going to have you do, but we don't have quite enough time because we had amazing conversations, was I was going to have you look at the timeline and pick out an event and then something from an event that matched up to the pedagogical principle you felt weakest in. And how could you use this timeline to help support that? And you can do this. Your kids will have so much fun with this. And now here's the nice thing too. If you have that student who doesn't enjoy the interactivity quite as much, it's on PDF too. So you can print it out if you need to. So you have that option as well. All right, so our last thing here, this is how we're going to come safely out. This is how we're going to close our opening session here. Teachers often show disturbing images to students in an attempt to show the realities of the Holocaust. Return back to my story about my 5th grade classroom. However, how can the following image carry the same meaning when our pedagogical principles are used properly? How can this image, a woman and her children in Auschwitz-Birkenau, does this have shock value? Yes, but is it contextualized? If you take this away, does that have shock value? No. So it's not the shock value in a bad way, right? If you contextualize this, if you've taught them empathy, if you're teaching the human story, if you're doing these things, will this picture have the same effect? The same supposed positive effect that someone with a shock value picture would have? Yes, hopefully. It's going to get your students to think about the Holocaust. But instead of showing them a pile of bodies and disrespecting people and doing all the things we don't want to do, instead, you're helping them think the right way. So think about every time you make a choice, and it's your classroom, you've got to make the choice. You guys are the experts in your classroom. But if you go back and check with those pedagogical principles, I promise you'll make awesome decisions. All right.
Those principles, so like that's just shared by Echoes and Reflections. So you got Vishem, every major organization, there's no value. There's those who middle school teachers, raise your hand. Yeah, I mean, there's not any value, and I've had more parents who come to me and say, the reason why we don't want your kids taking your class or this Holocaust course is I remember walking behind that wall of the United States Holocaust Museum and seeing the Camp Liberation and the bodies videos. Scared me to death. I know all I need to know. So you know all you need to know about the Holocaust by seeing piles of dead bodies or people being executed, and that's where the learning will stop. Because that's all they'll see, and they will never 1 second have humanized any one of the victims that they saw. They will just say, "Oh, this is just bad," and that's where it'll end. And either that or they'll trivialize it, one or the other.
Yep. And this year I moved to 6th grade for the first time. It was an experience. I had a new assistant principal, and she was looking over my yearly plan, and she said, "You can't teach the Holocaust in 6th grade, Mr. Greene." And I said, "Yes, I can. Yes, I can." And she meant well. I want to make that clear. She meant well. And my principal walked by and goes, "Oh, what are y'all talking about?" And she goes, "Well, I was just telling Mr. Greene, I don't need students seeing dead bodies, things like that, from the Holocaust in class." And she said, "That's not what Logan does." She goes, "You don't have to worry. Make those right pedagogical decisions, and you know the level of your students, and everything will be great." All right, we're going to take a little break, let everyone get a little snack, get your feet up a little bit, and I'll hand it over to Stephen for the break.
Save it to the cloud, if you could, please.
Yeah.